Just not a lot to show you this week. I will say that I have been plugging away at my idea to do a body for this that's a little curvy. And so far it's really rough. It's just once or twice a day in the morning and the evening I'll add some more epoxy putty. I finally got the big tubs of 2-part epoxy putty back again. I'll add some epoxy putty to this Fashionista's body that had the cracked hips. And I'm getting there. And yes, it's still very lumpy, and it will require a lot of sanding and filling eventually, but then we will have a fluffy kitty lady. So that's a long-term project. Another long-term project I've been working on and off is, I know I've mentioned that I'm kind of weird about commissions or commissions for trade. Oh, I need to sidetrack and say that it's allergy season, so if there's any weird jump cuts in this video, it's because I'm cutting out me sneezing or tending to my nose or things that you don't really want to see. So, another long-term project I've been working on and I've made good progress on. Well, when I do commissions, you have to catch me in the right mood when you ask. And usually the mood will not be right when I'm working on another commission or if I've recently finished a commission. There needs to be space between. And also if I've known you for a while through social media or otherwise, and I apologize, people ask, might not seem consistent, but it's just how my mind works. So I won't always accept a commission. Sometimes I do. And this person, this is a trade commission, and I just finished painting this and getting the hair done yesterday and sent photos this morning, so I haven't heard back from the person yet. But they said they liked my pastel skin, fantasy skin dolls. So I've done, this is a color green I mixed up a while ago, and I mixed up so much of it that I've just been painting doll after doll this color. It's the color used for her and other dolls. So this is a Disney store body, articulated body that I carved out the hips, and it's another made to move Leah. I think she's purple shirt. I can't remember. The one with the pale skin and the black hair. I know it as the Leah head sculpt. And I think part of the reason we started referring to the made to moves by their shirt colors is because they had all these new head sculpts that we weren't entirely sure what the names were. So anyway, this is Leah. I rerouted her with the anchor thread method, and she has this fluffy cotton candy hair. Like I said, I haven't heard back from the person if they like it or not, but I like how she turned out. Although I still see wild hair that needs to be trimmed. And so if this trade goes well, I have a little bit of sewing to do. If this goes well, I'm going to get a whole bunch of stuff I can use for customs. So that's where a lot of my time has gone lately, is working on this reroute. And I say that's like for the last few months when I've sat down and thought, all right, I can do doll craft projects. And then the little nagging thing in my brain says, you need to work on that reroute. So it went slow because when it's cold, my hand, I have the stupidest injury to my hand. We had some foam swords, this kind called a mashunga, just a big foam covered stick. And we were fighting. And I remember thinking to myself, be careful, you don't want to hurt your hand. And then husband moved in such a way that he opened up and I went in for the kill with that foam stick. And I got him, but it really crunched my hand. So the way I have to hold a needle for rerouting bothers my hand. And when it's cold outside, it really bothers my hand. So winter, I need to learn not to try to reroute in the winter. I can do it for about 20 minutes at a time. But now that I'm done with that project, if she likes it, then I can start moving on to the reroute projects for my own dolls that I've kind of wanted to do. And again, it's going to be a while before I'm in the right mood to do a commission because I feel like I've been neglecting really customizing my own dolls. That's kind of what led, I'm going off on huge tangents, to experimenting with the fake fur for the hair. is because I wanted to do completely custom dolls, but I did not want to deal with the reroots to get the fantasy hair. So actually, that worked out. See, I do like the fake fur beehives that I've gotten on some dolls, and I'm going to do more dolls with wild skin colors and that hair. And I was in Walmart today and just completely randomly trying to avoid aisles full of people to get to where I wanted to go, which was looking for potting soil, which I never found. Because it's springtime, but they're still rolling out in the garden center, even though, sorry, hair. Potting soil, I need all year. Because I like plants, and I have, the cats are getting old enough that they don't immediately destroy every plant that I bring in. What have I said about being sidetracked? Anyway, so I found myself in the craft aisle, and I grabbed these cheap, 50-cent matte finish apple barrels. I love these colors together. Kind of neon spring, 90s, 80s. Not quite primary colors. So I'm thinking, my first thought was I would actually do a doll with really fantastically, unrealistically, not the least bit like a human's pink skin, which would look fun with the pink fake fur. And then my eye got drawn to the blue, which that would also be a fun doll skin color. I have mixed up blues like this in the past, of like leftovers of other blues I had, and they didn't really adhere to the body very well. So I've done, let's see, where is she? This doll is done with apple barrel paints. I think the color is pistachio, or maybe green sherbet, lime sherbet. So I know that the apple barrel paints do okay on a full body repaint. Not as good as the old poly scale model color, which was taken from my husband's old stock of model paint supplies. And this company doesn't exist anymore, so there's no more of this great green. And Leah's purple is from that too. But I know that at least that green of the apple barrel sticks to a doll pretty well. So I can do more fantasy color dolls. I do like the green dolls, but like I said, I've been using this green that I have mixed up, and I still have more of it, so much that a change would be nice. And I do plan to do another doll with the medium purple skin tone and the purple beehive, because that was fun. And who knows what color she'll be. I mean, I'm not sure if I'm going to be ambitious enough to make her sort of a pastel calico cat or tortoiseshell with a mix of these colors and the white background. I don't know. I don't know. And of just random things, I was looking for, well, I made some dinosaur print doll clothes. And I was looking for a flower to put on. I ended up putting a heart on. And on my flowers, that reminded me that I had found this hat in the thrift store ages ago, and it had like, obviously had real flowers like potpourri, and there was just this like old dried up vegetation still glued to it. But I also had these other flowers, these foam roses, so I went ahead and glued that on for just a doll hat. Because why not? It's one of those projects that's been sitting around forever. I don't know if you can hear the cat. And so another thing I did is I tried out some of Cosmo Moore's doll patterns, doll sewing patterns. Am I going to sneeze? No. And this really super, I'm not going to call it a simple shirt, it's an easy shirt. It works with not a lot of detail, and it was so easy to sew up that it makes me feel kind of guilty for the patterns that I've shared that are basically human patterns scaled down in complexity. So I'm sorry for my patterns. But so, and this is the head from that Sakura Wars Sumire Kanazaki action figure that was originally on this body. And you can see, I think she looks good on the live body. You can see how much bigger the old body is. And another size reference to this body that I didn't expect is, I had that craft doll head with the big beehive that was in that lovely box of stuff that I was sent. And I had it on a Fashionista's body last week, but I said I'd ordered the Jackie Evanko Moxie Teens knockoff body, and that arrived. And I was able to pick it up on Friday, and here she is. She is wearing female action figure dress that I made 10 years ago, maybe even longer. And the shoes are for female action figures too. Unfortunately, this company doesn't exist anymore. But it's possible other female action figure, hello kitty, female action figure shoes that you can get on eBay will fit this. And hold on, I need to wipe my nose. And here's the grumpy kitty. So I got this body. Obviously, first thing I did was take the head off, strip the original clothes off, put this head on. I did not open anything up. I just kind of jammed it on more because it's plastic shell over styrofoam. I did end up using the bread tag method to get it to stay on. If you don't know what that is, it's when you take those little plastic things, tags that hold bread bags closed, and you put it on the neck and you trim it so it's just that little bit wider, and then you can work the head around it. That works really well if you have a neck for a completely different kind of neck that the head goes on, and you either need to open it up or cut off a bunch of stuff to get it to go on the new body, so the part inside the neck that actually holds the head on is completely gone. If you put the bread tag in, and what if Chris figured this out, it holds it. It holds it really well. So she's kind of lost the ability to tilt her head, but she can still, with a great squeak, turn it from side to side. So that's this. I'm happy with it. She has bad posture because she can. And a funny thing I realized after I got this body was this body is the same size, almost exactly. Let's see if I can get their ankles lined up. Shoulders a little bit lower, elbows line up, hands line up, knees line up. So if I can figure out what head to put on this body, then I will have another doll in this size. But I still don't think this head would have worked well on this body, because this head has the really stylized vintage look and this body is fairly sleek and stylized, whereas this body, yes, it does have better articulation, but it's also not quite as sleek looking as this body. So you people are winning. You're getting me into other scale dolls. Maybe. And then, well, on Saturday, you remember that patchwork thing I showed you last week that I'd done last weekend? It was pink and green, just completely random patchwork. I was looking at it and I thought, you know, I got this recently, impulsively. It's a quilting square template cutting ruler thing. So I took this and I took that piece of patchwork cloth and I cut it into a whole bunch of little, ended up being about 70 4.5-inch squares. And then I got a white cloth with yellow polka dots that I hadn't been using for anything else. I bought it to make baby stuff, and since my baby is 8 years old, it's been around for a while. Anyway, so I cut that into 70 squares and I put it all together to make a fairly straightforward thing. But still, I do like this. It's a little more appealing to me than that patchwork that I made. Yes, I'm very good at sewing things that I don't like once I'm done with them. But this has made me want to get more into making proper patchwork instead of just grabbing things at random and piecing them together haphazardly. So, even if it's just doing plain old squares of patchwork, something I might start doing more. It's, yes, that takes away from doll time, but in theory, since I'm not worrying about the custom for trade that I'm not working on, I can in theory do more. But I have lots of cloth that I've accumulated that I think will be great for patchwork. Speaking of accumulating cloth, I went to the thrift store today, and I did not buy any dolls. There was one doll, I didn't recognize her. She had kind of a la-di-da body, but the face wasn't. And her hands were really cute. They were kind of relaxed hands. But she was in a bag full of other dolls that I had no interest in, so I left that behind. But I did go to the cloth, and I did find this just fantastic. Flocked. The bows and some of the, and all, everything white on this, sorry, everything white on this is flocked. So I think if we gather it, it will make a great doll dress, or many doll dresses, maybe in multiple scales. Like I said, I've been whining about this online. I would like to get back into selling doll stuff on Etsy, but when I started sewing doll clothes to sell on Etsy right around 10 years ago, I did really well straight out of the gate with the Blythe stuff. And I did pretty well for a few years, and then added Monster High and did pretty well, and then I don't know if it was me or what, but the Etsy sales tapered away and my enthusiasm tapered away, but I still like the idea of sharing doll clothes with people from this cloth that I find. I will say, more rambling, I got Instagram installed on one of our really flaky tablets, but I have not registered for it yet. So I might be on Instagram sometime soon, or I might be ready to throw the tablet out the window because it's not going to cooperate. It's that kind of tablet. So, and also at the thrift store, thoughts zigzagging, still have a cat in my lap, I found, again, not doll related, this bag of batting, which even if it's not the full 81 by 96 batting, which it might be, I obviously have a lot of odd-sized other quilt tops around that I could do, and so I might eventually, this year might be the year that I make a real quilt with actual quilting instead of just tufting the pieces, which is what I've always done in the past. Because I enjoy patchwork. You might have gotten that impression. I do enjoy patchwork, but the act of actually making a proper quilt, which quilting is when you sew through all the layers to connect the batting with the backing and the top, that I've never been interested in trying until recently. I guess it's a sign of me maturing. I won't say turning into a little old lady, because I've kind of been a little old lady all my life. So also, the other things I got at the thrift store today, I got storage for doll stuff, probably. Maybe dolls, maybe craft things. Because my craft stuff is kind of a hodgepodge of ugly plastic boxes. Or this old cardboard box that I got in the thrift store full of sewing stuff once upon a time that is covered with super 70s or 1980s Edelweiss contact paper, which is cute, but it's not really holding up very well. So I got this box, and I got this to put more ball-jointed doll stuff in, because I'm getting enough that it's starting to exceed the capacity of the suitcase that I do have it set aside for it. I was going to clean this up because it's very, very dusty. And once I opened it up and sat it on the living room floor for just a second, it was filled with this cat. And she stayed in that for a long time. I thought I was going to make this video with her in it and annoy her that way. She's climbing on top of it now. We have a box full of cat. And she doesn't care. Thanks for watching.